it. We're finally here. The spot that I had in my head of where I wanted to show up. You'll understand when you look at it. But welcome to an edition of Plants for People 2. We are out in the woods in southern Vermont, Green Mountain National Forest. So I'm out in a town called Stratton. It's actually a little higher than where I live. So, you know, at elevation here, we're kind of turning back the clock a little bit. There's a bunch of shadbush in bloom. I'm looking for some specific sedges today out in this really special sedge meadow that I'm walking to right now. But on the way, I found a painted trillium. So this is Trillium undulatum. And it's characterized by that like bronzy, you know, leaf color, and of course the painted pink of the white flower there. But a cool species to see. There's some more back here, but this one is particularly big. I mean, you know, the size of my thumb. Normally they're a little bit smaller than this, but sometimes you get these where they have 4 leaves, and so it's a quadrillium, which is strange because these are monocots. So in monocots, one of the identifying characteristics is groups of 3. So you have 3 what look like petals, and then 3 leaves, or what look like leaves. They're actually not, but so groups of 3 on everything. And sometimes you get them with groups of 4. Sometimes you can have 4 petals, and so they think that that's sort of like a you know, duplication of genes that causes that. And I've only ever seen one that's been like that, and that had 4 leaves instead of 4 petals. But it can come either way. I'm trying to get to where I need to go as fast as I can, but I keep stopping because there's other cool things to look at. This is Panax trifolius. So the dwarf ginseng, it is not as valuable as the American ginseng, which has 5 leaves, cancafolius. But look at this thing. These things are pretty common in, you know, southern Vermont and probably elsewhere in New England. So 3 leaves. And they're really referring to like these, although this one has 5 here. This actually looks like, you know, similar to a American ginseng leaf, except these would be sort of more pushed back like that. And they're pretty small, so they're tiny in here, but just starting to open flowers. So we arrived, tons of moose sign coming in. I saw moose scat, moose prints. It's actually not as flooded as I thought it was going to be. We've been getting rain for like days and days. What I'm looking for out here is a thing called few flowered sedge, and it's a Carrick species, and it sort of has very few perigynia, all sort of like pointed backwards kind of. I can show you a picture here if I don't find it. I was out here last year, and the reason why I'm out here again this early is because it got so overgrown with all this stuff you're seeing is Canada blue joint. And so it kind of gets so tall that these little sedges can't, you know, it would be really hard to find them. So I'm hoping that I can catch them when they're small and the Canada blue joint isn't as tall, and I'm able to see them, because I don't think they've been seen here in a long time. There's a lot of other interesting sedges here too, which I'm probably going to come back in like 3 weeks and check it out then as well, especially if I don't find anything today. But I'm going to take a walk down here and just like check some stuff out. It's a gorgeous little spot. This is up in the southern Green Mountains. And here's some reading the landscape for you. This was a beaver dam at one point. There's a beaver lodge over there. You can see it off in the distance. And this was dammed at one point. This is a little berm that runs back. So this would have been dammed, and this would have all been flooded. And since broke, I don't know how long ago it broke, but I mean, the vegetation has come back. So that's interesting to see. No beavers here now though. I have zero service out here, so I don't know which direction I'm pointed. I think I need to head this way, although my GPS is telling me to go that way, but the GPS isn't connected, so it can't be right? Anyway, I'm gonna bushwhack through here and try to make it back to the other side. I sort of been following these little channels. There's a bunch of streams that sort of all run this direction, and so, you know, this is flooded right now because of beaver activity. Actually, more recent beaver activity. There's a big ass dam down here, so it makes it really hard to walk along this wetland edge. So I'm gonna bushwhack this way and see if I can get back up to where the other part of the meadow is. I'm still lost, but came across this cool patch of Veratrum viridae. Now these have like green flowers if they flower. So if you're lucky to see them flower, they're usually green, pollinated by moths, I believe. They don't always flower for some reason, and it looks, I mean, this patch is pretty big. I wonder if these are genetically similar, if they've been seeding. Some of them do get browsed, probably in this case by a moose. There's actually a few of them in here that are browsed, but cool native, like always in wet area plants. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a really strong candidate for a moose trail. Look at they've just been walking through here and then down this way. I mean, it's not marked as a trail or anything, but the water is like right over that edge. So I'm definitely cautious walking out here and just really pay attention to my surroundings because they could be anywhere. There's a chainsaw mark, so maybe this is, you know, maybe somebody did. This was an old trail in here, I'm not sure. But moose definitely didn't do that. This beautiful thing is Viburnum lantanoides. And so all of these outside what look like full-on flowers are actually sterile. So there's no reproductive parts in these at all. They're like attractors for the pollinators that are going to come in and pollinate the actual fertile flowers in the center of this disc. And I mean, these make, you know, good landscape plants. They literally take over the woods. I mean, they're everywhere in here. Some places they're, you know, pretty rare, but up here in the mountains, Southern Green Mountains, they are ubiquitous. And it's called hobblebush, so it's really hard to get through when they're thick. Like imagine trying to walk through this right now. It would just be, it's all over your legs and everything. It's hard to get anywhere that way. Oh, that beaver has created a full-on lake in here. That dam was probably like 10 feet tall, and this is not a meadow. This is now a lake. Yeah, all the way up to the shore. We're gonna keep trudging along. I came across this little opening here, and I was like, oh, what are these? And they've all been browsed. You see that little, like, they've been cut off, and every flower stalk in here that I can find has been severed. There's one there. There's another one. And it looks like they're trying to put on flowers at the browse mark on some of them. At least, yeah, it looks like they're budding up. So I'm disappointed because they're really cool looking flowers. If I don't find them, I'll put a picture in this thing here. But it's interesting that they've, you know, there's a pretty big patch here and they all got browsed. But not browsed and in flower is another saxifrage. It's a different genus. This is Chrysosplenium. Let's see if we get a flower here. They have like orange anthers around a disc. Always growing in wet areas like this, like along the edge. You can see it. It's all right here too. So pretty common plant in like wetlands. But that's all that's really flowering in here. There's some Coptis or gold thread, Coptis trifolia blooming, but still lost. So I just came across something pretty interesting. I was finding white flower, you know, groups on the ground. Look at this. So there were these flowers all over the ground. I'm like, that looks like shadbush flowers. And I started looking around at, you know, the trees here, and there's sugar maples, some red maples, spruce, beech. And I like went by this one. I just thought it was a red maple, but this is a shad bush, and you can see there's flowers all up there in the trees. And this thing is like, you know, my arm wide. I've never seen a shad bush this tall, but I'll write down what you can see. The shad bush like bark there, kind of higher up, but massive tree. This thing must be super old. So I'm still lost, sort of. I think that GPS was right, actually. It took me to like a road, so I turned around because I didn't want to walk the road back, so now I'm lost again, but that's cool. I got to show you this like huge ass beaver dam. That was part of that pond that I showed you up there. That's what's stopping all that water. And then there's a smaller one down here, but look what it's doing. It's completely, you know, changed the hydrology down here, holding all this stuff back. So I think now we need to go this direction to get back, which is weird because I came up river from that way, I thought, but I don't know. So somehow I found a trail again. So this was the trail I was on to begin with. I just don't know where on the trail I am. Very recent beaver activity, cutting down this tree across the trail. And I think that down there actually is the meadow that I went through last year. But it's so flooded right now by the beavers that it looks completely different, and I just walked right by it. I'm gonna go out a little bit further into a little bit like boggier section and see what plants are out there, because that's where I think that few flowered sedge will be. We may not see it today either. Sorry for that detour. We're back on. I think this is it actually. So there's a little passageway behind me that I missed that leads you up into this much bigger opening. So, and the water doesn't look as high in here, which is good. So we'll take a look around and see if we can find that thing. Here's a good patch of spring beauties, still full on blooming up here in the mountains. And I've been watching, there's quite a few different kinds of pollinators coming in here and grabbing stuff. They're a little hard to see. Let's see if I can get you one. There's one. So I don't know what kind of bee that is. Some kind of native. I have no idea. Pretty cool though, you can see all like the pollen sacs on the side of it. So this is what I was talking about looking for. This like boggy, open. The other area had so much Canada blue joint in it that there's really like, you know, almost nothing else growing in there. But I wanted to check out this place right now and see if I can find anything cool. Here's some pitcher plants. Sarracena purpurea. In this boggy little area. There's also cranberries in here, bog rosemary, wintergreen, winterberry, and some other pitcher plants over there. There's also drossers in here. I've seen some sedges, but nothing that looks like I can ID it right now. So this pitcher plant is actually just starting to put up flower buds. So those will be these really oddly shaped flowers. They're like a disc on top of a disc upside down. It's kind of strange looking. So I did find last year's carex fruit here in the wetland, still with some seeds on it. So this is not the species I'm looking for though, but it's encouraging that maybe I would be able to see last year's stems, because these things look so distinct. They're like, everything like points backwards and down. But I also read a report that there's probably Cryptolepis here, Carex Cryptolepis, which is like, it's one of 3 that look very similar. But I'll take a look at these Periginia and see if I can see which one this one is. Well, that's it. We didn't find it, but we found a lot of other cool stuff out here. And I'll come back in like a month or so and maybe try to pinpoint an area to look for that thing. But yeah, thanks for joining. Have fun. Get out there and check out some plants.